So I'm out here trying to live the dream while the weather's nice. Instead, Blizzard didn't want me to do that, and they thought it was a good idea to put some more changes out. So let's have a look. So firstly, as always, these are subject to change. The changes only affect PvE and have zero impact on PvP, so that's instance PvP like arenas or battlegrounds. And the changes under each spec's name are only active for that spec, even if the ability is available to multiple specs. So as I've used as an example before, if they buff Bear Form for Guardians, it won't matter for Feral DPS, it will literally just be for Guardian Druid. Now I've got to be honest with you, looking through this, some of them are not surprising because we haven't actually seen any tweaks or adjustments made to some of these specs yet, so this is a first. But some of them are a little bit surprising. So starting with Death Knight first, for Frost DK, Soul Reaper now scales with your mastery, and Obliterate now also scales with your mastery. Now these are brand new changes, these are not something that were brought forward or a change that's been reverted or even something from Warlords of Draenor pre-patch. This is exclusive and brand new to Mr. Pandaria. Mastery for Frost DK is absolutely amazing anyway because it just flat out increases frost damage. So that'll be the damage from things like Frost Strike, Frost Fever and Howling Blast. So the fact you're now going to have Soul Reaper on top of that and Obliterate, this on its own will be quite a noticeable change without actually having to buff any other abilities or anything like that. So I'm kind of looking forward to see how Frost DK is going to perform next week in the next Heart of Fear testing. Now, one of the specs that we've not seen change at all yet is Marksman Hunter, until now. So the steady shot damage has been increased by 10%. This is brand new. Aim shot damage has been increased by 10% as well. Barrage damage, so this is actually your talent, but obviously it will only get the damage increase for Marksman, but that's been increased by 15%, and Chimera shot damage has been increased by 15% as well. Again, these are all just brand new class tunings for Mr. Pandaria. These are not any changes that happened back in the day, so this could be one that definitely needs to be watched out for, because in my experience, when it comes to hunters, yes, survival is king, and we knew it was going to be king in Phase 1. But actually, once you start to get some gear in Phase 1, Marksman's never been that far behind, so the fact that they're getting quite substantial buffs like this, is it going to shift the meta from Survival Hunter to Marksman? I think very possibly. So Mage next has got some really solid changes, all revolving around Arcane and Fire as you would expect, because Frost is kind of just fine. But Arcane Barrage damage has been increased, which this has actually been reverted from 5.2. Arcane Blast damage has been increased as well. Again, another change reverted from 5.2. And Arcane Blast mana cost has been lowered by 10% as well, to 1.5% base mana, whereas 1.666. All of these were nerfs that got seen in 5.2 for Arcane Mages that have just been undone. So the difference between Arcane and Frost, in my experience, again, has never been that big. So this should just close the gap, because the gap wasn't that big to begin with. So again, interested to see how Arcane performs next week. Fire's Pyroblast damage has been increased by 12%, and critical mass's increase to critical strike has been increased to 1.5, where it was 1.3. So critical mass, if you're not aware, just multiplies the critical strike chance of your Fireball, Frost Fireball, Pyroblast and Scorch. And of course, getting crits is the most important thing, so you get 2 crits back to back to get your instant cast Pyroblasts. To be honest with you, I don't think either of these changes are enough to actually make Fire relevant, especially over Frost and even potentially Arcane with these changes as well, but still solid. Now, the one that I don't really quite understand, Brewmaster, which you wouldn't expect me to complain about because you all know I play a monk, has had its blackout kick damage increased by 25%, and this is new. So they're actually looking at a tank monk and thinking they don't do quite enough damage when it comes to single target, which I would actually say there's other tanks that suffer a lot more than what a Brewmaster does. But let's be fair, the 25% damage increase to something that you use so frequently as a Brewmaster, I'm not going to turn it down. And then Paladin's had some absolutely amazing changes, and now one of these is so significant but actually should just be baked in as part of the game anyway. But firstly, Holy Insight now increases your chance to hit with Crusader Strike by 7.5%, so this is new, but this does mean if you use the mana on Crusader Strike to be able to get Holy Power, you won't miss. Like, this puts you at the hit cap with Crusader Strike, which is incredibly important, obviously. But then secondly, casting Crusader Strike throughout an encounter causes the Holy Paladin to be considered a melee character when it comes to targeting for boss mechanics. If the Paladin does not cast Crusader Strike or doesn't cast Crusader Strike for an extended period of time, the Paladin goes back to being considered a ranged character for boss mechanics. This is huge. So I'll give you a prime example where this was actually causing us problems. On Windlord Maldorak in Heart of Fear, you get bombs, and these wind bombs, if you stand in them, you blow up them, pretty much wipe the raid. Now, we was actually getting them go on our Paladin incredibly frequently when he was trying to get into melee on the boss. So the fact that they've done it in quite a clever way as well is like, well, if you want your Holy Paladin to stand out of range and potentially be the target of a specific mechanic, you can, but also at the same time, if you want to let them get in melee and not cause problems by some of these mechanics being focused on a range that's now stood in melee, you won't as long as that paladin's casting Crusader Strike. I mean, that is a really good way of doing it. And there's been some changes to Arena as well, but I am going to be doing a video about PvP because there were some changes a few days ago around PvP and this one on Arena as well. While I'm talking, you've got it on the screen if you want to read through it yourself, but as I say, I'm going to cover all the PvP changes in a separate video anyway. I just wanted to get this one done before the sun goes too much and update you on all these class changes as they happen. Was your class affected in a positive way or a negative way? Either way, let me know in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.